because I just found out a man died. He's an auditor, old school. This dude was crazy back in the day, 20 years ago. You know, he was a biker, he was affiliated with Banditos. Even my father-in-law, Red Dog, of former president for Diablo Lobos Motorcycle Club, knows Gary, loves him. I've heard more stories than I'd like to hear from their good old days. But I found out he died, and the reason I'm reaching out to you is not to brag or anything, or to I'm just making you aware of what happened. Gary is old school. He's been fighting the cops since before cameras. He, you know, doing the same thing we do, but without a camera, which is a lot tougher, as you know. And the cops really did not like him, and I know this because I've known Gary for about a year and a half. Uh, on October 22nd of this year, he died alone, penniless, and he had two friends. Me, a guy he watched on YouTube and met up with a few times, several times, played music and everything, known for about a year and a half. And then his neighbor, who he knew for the last month of his life. But much love to Dan for stepping up and helping out. Mad prayers to you, man. So I meet Gary over YouTube, right? He wants to reach out to me. He's like, "You remind me of me when I was a kid, you know," and we knew some of the same people. Uh, and so I go meet him. We play music. He plays music. He raised his daughter, and he fights the cops. So of course, naturally, we got a lot to talk about. We hashtag it, and uh, it was great. This dude had a lot of theories, though, and I want to tell you some of them right now, like the Justin Phillips theory. Justin Phillips is a name that you'll, and the same, what's it? There's a certain number that goes with prison inmates. He's got the same number, but it shows up. His name, Justin Phillips. Right after you see this, it probably won't. They'll change it, but he shows up in almost every Arkansas jail. This is also the dude that goes out and finds girls at casinos, and he gets a turnout on drugs, and then has them do his dirty work, mindless minions, whatever it is. Gary turned me on to that and showed me physically that this guy's in prison right now. He's also in Fort Smith. He's also in Benton County Jail. All of these Arkansas jails, same Department of Corrections number, same name, but he's not in jail. He's out because this guy stole Mr. Bates' car. Gary Lynn Bates was his name, by the way. Born in 1957, died October 22nd, 2022. And he was a bad mother back in his day. Nobody messed with him. But you know what happened? His enemies waited until he was bedridden with cancer. And then they came. And they robbed him. And this woman, Penny Thomas from Sallisaw, Oklahoma, who's in her 50s and just a terrible skank, the worst human ever, pretended to be a caregiver and actually robbed him blind. She had him believing that the house, he was under a lot of medication. She had him believing that his house was rigged to blow by the police. And had him move in with all of his Social Security money that he had at the time to buy a motel room for 9 days. And then while they stayed there, they came back to an empty house because she put a big sign in the front window that said, "Do not trespass." That was actually a sign for her cohorts to come and rob the place. And they did. I've got tons of pictures, tons of evidence. We had a trail cam set up and stuff. Anyway, so I knew Gary for all this time. And then I take off. I don't know what I was doing, but I was not in town. I get back and he calls me. Now, when I left, he was about 150 pounds. You know, he just got out of the cancer surgery. He was doing better. You know, he was building up. But I just got out, 130 pounds, still small. And so I, was real easy with him, hung out with him, stuff. But I came back about 3 months later and he calls me up crazy. I've never heard this man say this stuff. He's like, "You got to get over here. You got to come see my caregiver. You got to come meet her. She's great. You got to come meet her. She's great." And I'm like, "I'm really busy right now, man. My kid's over here, but I will come by and meet your caregiver." He's like, "Luke, you got to come now. Come meet her." And so I'm like, someone's knocking at my door. I'm like, "Okay, I'll come meet her." I jump my car. I drive over to his house. And I walk into a nightmare. They had boarded the windows over. They had mattresses only in one room. It was burning hot in there. Hang on, Ann.
Might be detected at the back door.
It was burning hot in the room because they had the heaters all blazing. What she did was she was wiring the house like with these bullshit wires. Like when I finally looked at it, I walk in and I'm like, what's going on, Gary? And he looks 90 pounds. I'm like, whoa. He's like, yeah, I'm doing good. I'm like, bro, you sure you're doing good? This your caregiver? I was like, can I look at your logs? Like, what are you logging down? She had one thing logged in that thing, in that notebook. So I knew there was a problem immediately. And so Gary's like whispering to me, like, what should I do? What should I do? Hang on, I'm on whispering to me, like, what should you do? And I go, I'm going to get you out of here. So that's what happens. I get him out of the house as quickly as possible. These girls are crazy. They're doing meth. They've got everything broken down. They've torn apart radios. It was a nightmare. So I get him out of the house, and he goes, we got to go back there and rob me blind. You got to leave this house. And I had to go in. I went in with a pistol. And she pulled a gun on me. I pulled one on her. Long story short, I did get them out of the house successfully, and we kept them out. Now, she took all of about $150,000 worth of his musical equipment to a U-Haul storage, and my friend Rose works there. And Rose called me. Penny Thomas had come and got that stuff out of storage. I went and saw what was left, some trash. I'm going to go clean it out, as well as his house later. And it's a huge tragedy, because this guy was so monumental. His enemies literally waited till he was sick in bed and couldn't fight back, and they came for him. Penny Thomas poisoned him with bug spray on a daily basis. I took him to Mercy Clinic in Fort Smith, and they confirmed. The first time it was inconclusive. Second blood test confirmed that he had been poisoned with this, which she did on a daily basis. And I have the question to ask you, like, that's a human? She's poisoning a sick old man? I tell some friends of mine up in Cedarville about this, and they go, man, it's common. It happens all the time. And so I'm doing some investigation on that right now. But his truck was stolen last year by Philip Thomas and his cohorts. Officer Rinaldi, who's in my viral video, the South African cop, he's a detective now, but he's still a piece of shit, would not find it. He told Mr. Bates that it was a civil matter. Someone stole his car. It was a civil matter. Because in Fort Smith, if they don't like you, such as myself or Mr. Bates, because of what we do, we stand up for our rights, they don't work for you, because it's kind of their world, I guess. But that's why I'm suing them. 3 months left, guys, and I'm going to hopefully make an intention. Gary died. He was cremated. The last of his belongings. Penny Thomas stole all of his belongings, and she had raked all of his savings and all of his bank accounts. He died with no money. We were scraping together what we could to buy food. And there's no funeral, because the last of his items were sold. Everything she did not steal, there was a value, were sold to pay for his cremation. And no one came. No one. And that just haunts me, because you think that all your people will come out to see you, but something about today's day and age where it's like people are not, it's not the same people, man. They're on a whole nother level. And I think it's just people just care about themselves solely. But he had 2 friends in the end, myself and Dan, his neighbor. Dan knew him for the last month, and Dan was a huge help. Dan would go, like I did, clean his house, making food. I can't cook, but I did anyway. And Penny Thomas ultimately got him. She killed him. There's not going to be an investigation. There's nothing written on it. There's nothing. He was pronounced dead. End of story. His truck was stolen. It was taken to Rudy. I found his truck. I went and found it for him. Civil matter. They won't go get it. Why? Because he is an auditor. This dude used to audit back in the day with no camera. How tough would that be, guys? The camera's the only thing that saves us sometimes from death, from beating, from false allegations. This dude did it without. And he paid the price. So he wanted me to give this video to you guys, talk to you about Justin Phillips. And he wanted me to tell you that if he is in fact passed away and I'm doing this video, to please look into it. There's something going on. Look at Penny Thomas in South Oklahoma. Look at the Fort Smith Police Department. Why is there no investigation on his death? Results of cancer? Why was he poisoned? I have those blood test results, by the way.
Motion detected at the back door.
It's getting real busy at my house, so I'm going to go. But rest in peace, Gary Bates. I'm going to go What's up, man? Justin Phillips, look into him. He's runs the casinos here and finds girls, gets them drugged up. He was also involved in the Tara Strozier murder, where she was tortured and then sunk to the bottom of the pond. I've got Gary had a lot of information in his computer, which is missing thanks to Penny Thomas. And anyway, there's a lot more to it, and I'm going to bring his footage for the next video, and I'm going to show you everything that he showed me. And we'll do it like that. So, rest in peace, Gary Bates. Down with the bad, up with the good. I'm Luke Ashlocke. I'll stop this gosh damn thing. There you go. Oh crap, it's still live.
Oh, on my end, sorry.
What? How do I unlive this stupid gosh damn? Yeah, stop the